Hello everyone, this is Ben with ERP Connect, and in this video we're going to show you our distribution control center application and how it can be a good fit for your BC environment. Now, we are going to start with who this is typically for and why they should use distribution control center. So naturally our demographic lately has been smaller warehouses, typically 20 to 30 million on the high side in revenue, and about 10 to 15 pickers/warehouse employees in general. Now, that's not a hard and fast rule, just what we're seeing with our current client demographic, but we also do have plenty of clients that are smaller than that. So they also typically aren't having a ton of custom workflows in their WMS or a ton of additional complexities, and we are eliminating the need for warehouse documents, which is a very crucial point because we find that sometimes they can be overly complicated from a setup standpoint and also a day-to-day use standpoint. So with that, what we've aimed to do here is streamline the sales order, pick, pack, and ship process, which you saw in video 1. If you've not reviewed video 1 already, which is around getting started with DCC, I would highly recommend you check that out as well. In this video, we're specifically going to review additional warehouse functions, including the PO receiving, the transfers, the inventory moves, the cycle counts, and the item inquiries, which you can see all of those buttons up on my screen right now, which we will get into here in a second. Again, the main benefit here being that you can get up and running very quickly, usually within 10 to 15 hours of configuration. As we all know, other tools can take weeks, if not months, to get set up and trained, whereas the goal of DCC is going to be ease of use, quick training, and quick day-to-day workflows that just make sense. So we will get into all of that in a second here with our demo, but if you're good with following the best practice out-of-box approach that we've set up here, we think Distribution Control Center is right for you. So with that, we are going to jump right into the setup. So you can go up here and go DCC Setup. And in video 1, we've already reviewed most of these, including the receiving and inventory move tabs, but I'm just going to quickly revisit these here for just 1 second. So under the receiving put away option, which will come in today's demo, we will have 3 different options. So the first option is you can do nothing. The second option is you can show the put away page. And the third option is going to be you can print the put away report. So depending on your receiving and put away needs, you can choose which option you'd like to do here. We are going to print the put away report today, which is simply just going to show you the shelves or bins that your items need to go on. It's going to print something out that anybody who's doing the putaways can follow in order to make sure those items that have just been received make it to the right spot. The other option is going to be the receiving posting. Here we're just defining whether you want to receive only from DCC, which I have selected, or if you want to also invoice at the same time. So again, depending on your receiving and invoicing process, you can pick here what best fits your business needs. And then finally, the last setup piece down here is going to be on inventory moves. If you are using bin tracking, simply turn this on. It will also enable additional bin tracking fields when we're doing our inventory moves that we'll see here in a second in our demo. So that's it for the setup. The next piece will be to get into our end-to-end demo, starting with purchase order receiving off of your computer, tablet, phone, or other handheld device. So with that, we will jump right back to our homepage and get into the demo. So the first thing we're going to focus on for today's demo is this PO receiving box that you can see here on our DCC Roll Center. Now, this is probably the most crucial feature and the most widely used feature that we have today. We've got some people who are using DCC simply just to do the PO receiving. So it's very powerful, and I will show you how you can do it on the computer mainly today, but know that you can also do it on your tablet, your handheld device, your phone, pretty much anywhere that you can pop open Business Central. You can use this Roll Center and then also do these same functions on your other devices. So what we're going to do first is you're just going to click on the PO receiving, and what this is going to allow you to do is work off of the paper that your vendors provided, or you can scan it in, and this is going to give you a window that's specifically dedicated to purchase order receiving. Now, you can also access this from the purchase order itself without coming into the Roll Center. So if you're already on the purchase order and you want to access this window, you can absolutely do so. But in order to get started, we're going to work from our homepage. And again, I can just go into the purchase order number that maybe has been provided to us, and it's going to pop up those POs that I've got. So you can just click on the one, click receive, And now you'll notice that we've got one purchase order, 106048, shows me who the vendor is, what the order date was. Remember, you can invoice and receive at the same time. So if you needed to do so, you could input the vendor invoice number here. Again, on that setup, we had that turned off, so we're only doing the receiving. And now you have the lines, which is obviously going to be the most important part here. I've got my 2 items. I've got my quantity to receive, which has been defaulted to 0, it looks like, my description, and my outstanding quantity. Now, this leads us into 2 very important buttons. I've got the load quantity here, which if I click and click yes, it'll populate everything to match the outstanding quantity. Then I have the reset quantity up here. If I click reset quantity, it'll put those both to 0. Now, some great use cases for both of these, right? In one sense, you have a PO that comes in and it's got 100 lines, let's say, and everything comes in besides 2 lines. You could load all the quantities up and just blank out to 0 the quantity to receive, the 2 lines that you didn't get. Allows you to work very fast with that data. On the flip side, maybe you got a 100-line PO, but the first box that shows up only has 2 items in it, and you want to reset the quantities all to 0 and then just mark the quantity to receive for the 2 items that you've received. So again, it works both ways and allows you to either set the quantity to receive all to 0 or all to the maximum amount that you have outstanding. So again, 2 very useful pieces of data here that we can use in order to work faster with our purchase order receiving. Now, let's say that the vendor forgets to send you a packing slip for some reason, but you still would like to print out something to receive against. What I can do here is print this checklist. Now, what this checklist will do if I print it, it's going to go into my downloads folder, but you could actually physically print this out. It's going to print kind of your internal list. So it's going to show you 1017 and 1021. It's going to show you that I've got 2 quantity of 2 on each there. If you had a vendor item number, it would also populate here. And you can simply print this out and use this as your checklist as you're receiving. So you can say, okay, yep, there's 2 Microsoft Surface 8s there. There's 2 keyboards. Just mark them off. And then you could even upload a picture, which I'll also show here in a second. So that is the, we'll go back here real quick. That's our first 3 functions: the load quantity, the reset quantity, and the print checklist. Again, if your vendor forgets to give you a packing slip. So that would help solve that problem. The next is going to be this notify purchaser. So what this notify purchaser button does is it looks at who's the purchaser on the PO, and it's going to send them an email with whatever notes that we define here. So let's say there's a problem with the shipment, something's wrong with the contents of the box, wrong part number, you name it. We can just simply click this button and it's going to pop up a dialog box. Now, what you'll notice is this looks and feels very similar to our advanced notifications tool. If you've looked at that one, if you haven't, I would highly recommend it. And if you have, again, this is going to work very similarly in terms of sending those emails out via workflow. So I'm just going to come in here and say, they sent the Surface 8s. Let's get Surface 9s next time, potentially. And I'm going to click save and close. And now what this is going to do is it's actually going to send me an email. So let's pop that open here. What you can see is that it sent the exact note, and it's also got a link to open that purchase order up. In the subject, you can also see the purchase order number and the vendor it came from. So if I click on this, it is going to open us right back up into that screen, and we can go ahead and see that purchase order that we were working with earlier. So 1017, 1021, purchase order 106048. So again, it opens us up directly into that purchase order to do whatever is needed in this case. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. And we're going to come back out to our PO receiving screen. So like I said, you can pop open that email all via that notify purchaser function. And that's really it on that button there. So the next thing we're going to talk about is our receipt attachments as well as our attach pictures. So what this first button does, this attach receipt, it's actually going to just open up a dialog to either drag and drop a document or browse out to your files to grab a document over there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this packing list that we worked on earlier. I'm just going to drag and drop it, and you know, everybody wants to go paperless today, so this kind of helps accomplish that. So if I go into this packing list, I can now download it, and this is all attached now to this PO receipt that we've been working with. So you'll see kind of this receiving checklist that I printed earlier. I just checked the 2 off, put quantity received to 2 there, ordered Surface 8, similar to that note that we just saw via email. Just put my initials and the date on here as well, right? So you can attach images from your computer, or you can use the actual phone app again to search your camera roll and attach that way. So that's option one here in order to attach the documents. Otherwise, you can come up to this attach picture, and you can actually open up, if I'm on my computer, so it would just take whatever's on your webcam potentially, but you can also, again, use this, probably better use case, from your phone or your tablet, and actually take a picture live and attach it directly into the attachments here. So I'll go ahead and click attach picture here. And again, it's going to try to do my webcam, or you can see over on the mobile device that it's actually taking a live picture of what we're looking at of this barcode right now. And we can also do multiple pictures. So you'll also see, I'll do real quick, an additional picture. So we'll end up with 3 different attachments once this all said and done. We'll have the packing slip that I just grabbed off my files. We'll have the picture that I'm taking now of the barcode and of the actual boxed product. So those are kind of the 2 main things that you can do in order to attach documents that you've already taken or downloaded via PDF or any pictures, as well as attach pictures on the fly, which are going to be from your actual device itself. So with that, we are about ready to go ahead and actually post this receipt. The last thing I will point out is this number of labels right here. So if you actually need to go ahead and print the labels directly from the PO receipt, slap it on the box, whatever, you can do so here. Just say how many labels you need for each. That's going to be set up in the location. So if I go to Dallas real quick, come into the locations, click Dallas. If I come down here to the warehouse setup, you can see I've got the receiving label print option, either none, product label, advanced product label, retail label, or custom label. And then I've got the ERC custom label report ID here, where you would just identify the actual label that you want to use. So again, a few different options here, 3 standard reports. You got the product label, can print out things like the product name, company logo, and the barcode. The advanced product label, you can add additional items like the special order number linked to the PO. We'll still print the customer name, can put the expected delivery date and things like that on there as well. And then you can also have each warehouse having a different label setup if needed. And then again, we already talked about the report label ID. You would just populate that there. So none of the other features in here are going to matter because we're not using BC out-of-box warehouse documents. Again, the whole purpose of DCC is to make that whole piece a little bit easier. And if you have bins, you can mark that as bin mandatory down here still, which is going to play into some of the other features that we looked at earlier. But I'm going to go back here for the demo, and I'm going to leave that blank. We're not going to post any labels today, but just did want to talk about it. So we are ready to post. Now, everything we've done so far has been hyper-focused on receiving, and this is going to help us round things out. So I'm going to go ahead and click post, click yes. And this is going to post everything that we've been working on for the last 5 or 6 minutes. Now, one of the other things that you'll see is that my Putaway report populated and downloaded right here. Now, I, in the configuration, had it printing, right? But you can also just have it pop up on your screen if you've got your tablet. Again, this is going to help facilitate after you've now received, where does this go? Where are you going to put it? So now I can see that I've got my Microsoft Surface 8 here. It's telling me that I can put it on shelf A17 right there. Then it's also telling me I've got 2 sales orders that are open, right? So this can now help enable some warehouse efficiencies, right? So instead of putting it right directly back on the shelf that it needs to go, we can deploy some cross-docking here, right? So now we've got 2 sales orders. Instead of putting all of these back on the shelf or back into stock, we could start to fulfill some of these sales orders directly from the PO receipt Putaway report. Now, you know, some companies will just go ahead and receive it and they know where to put it, so they won't print anything, but we also have the options to print this out as well as set up the ability to pop it open on your tablet like we talked about before. But the key point here is that it'll tell you the locations, tell you the bins if you've got bin mandatory turned on for where things need to store, and it will also show you things that have been backward as well to enable some of those cross-docking functionalities that we talked about. So the main point here is if after you receive it, you need some more information about your putaways, this is a great function to enable that can help kind of facilitate that putaway process. So in order to kind of round out this PO Putaway receipt process, just a few kind of parting comments are that, again, this is going to help increase productivity. We've had, again, people use just this receiving function out of DCC since it adds so much value to the warehousing process. We can attach those documents, the pictures, we can print labels, we can notify purchasing, all things that the standard product does not do, and we can set them up here very efficiently like you saw today. So with that, I'm going to go back into our home screen, and we are going to focus on our cycle counts next, which are right here. Now, what these cycle counts are going to do is enable us to do one of two things. One, we can pre-schedule cycle counts for the counter, or we can simply create them on the fly, which is going to be our example today. So what you're going to do is just come up here and click cycle count, and it's going to say that you don't have any scheduled. Do you want to create one? So this is going to be on our fly example. And here you just come and simply fill it out. So if you were using your mobile device, you could scan it and it would pop up, or you can just come up here and say 1017. You'll notice that it brings up the item description right here and also the shelf number that you can go find it on. I do need to tell it where I'm at, so I'm going to put in Dallas here. And if you had bin tracking as well, you could click that here in the dropdown. So again, we've got our item, we've got the shelf number it's on, and we've got the location that we are in. It's telling us that there are 19 on hand currently. I'm going to go count them all, and I'm going to say, okay, well, there's actually 20 here. So I'm going to put 20 in there. And then all you have to do is click OK. Are you sure that you want to post the cycle count? I'm going to click yes. And we are good to go there. So what that is going to do is basically make the adjustment for us to add one to inventory because we were one short on our actual system data. And now if I go back to the item card itself and go to 1017 and come down here, I can see that my last physical inventory date was today. If I click on that, I can see that we've got a positive adjustment, 820 here for 1. So we had 19 calculated and we actually had 20, so it's going to add 1 into our inventory. Now, that is kind of really it for the cycle counts. We try to make it nice and easy. What that's doing is basically streamlining the entire out-of-box process into just that, which takes about 15 to 20 seconds once you actually show up and find out how many are in that location and that shelf or bin. And we're kind of mimicking that out-of-box process of generating the physical journal, counting it, printing the sheet, copying the number, coming in, entering it, previewing it, and posting it. You don't have to do all that. Now you can just grab your tablet or your phone, do it on the fly, ad hoc, go over to the shelf that it's on, type it in like we just saw, and our little screen there is creating all of that behind the scenes for you, just like Business Central would do on adjusting inventory out of box. So that is the cycle count. The next thing that we're going to do is come in here, go back, and do the transfer order. So let's go ahead and do the transfer order. This is pretty much going to trigger the out-of-box Business Central window. So I'm just going to go create a new transfer order. I'm going to go from Dallas to Tampa. I'm not going to put an in-transit code, and we're going to go ahead and add some lines here. So we'll do the one that we just took. We'll just transfer, let's do 5 actually back. And again, this is just transferring using the standard transfer order in Business Central. So now you could print the pick ticket, put it on the truck, deliver it, that whole process. Again, it's just the standard product, but we are giving you the opportunity now to do it off of your tablet or your phone, simply from that home screen again. So we're not going to go through all of that since there's not much that's custom there other than adding the square into our warehouse activities on our roll center here. The next thing, though, that will help speed that up is the inventory move. So now what this is going to do is it's going to allow you to go from one location to another without having the pre-enter document like we just saw moments ago. Now, this is a custom function for DCC, and it makes that moving process so much easier. So again, we're going to come up to the inventory move here, and you'll notice that this screen is much more consolidated and much more easy to use, right? So you can scan it in again or just put the item number here. We'll use 1017. And instead of using that transfer order like we just saw, we can just move it. A lot of times this is going to be used from the same warehouse, right? So you're moving it from shelf to shelf or bin to bin or, something like that. So let's move 5 of them. In this case, I'm just going to use the locations because I do not have bins enabled. So I will actually transfer it from Dallas to Tampa. And in this case, I can just click post. And it's going to do everything again behind the scenes for me. So it makes it super simple, quick and easy to do. Yes, I do want to post this. And now if I come into my item, we can see quickly, if I go to 1017, that the item availability by location in Dallas, let's go here, that the transfer order that we just did, 5 going out of Dallas, has been recorded there. So again, just a quick and easy way to enable those inventory moves directly off of the home screen. Again, whether you're on your computer, on your tablet, on your phone, your handheld device, no matter what you're using there, you can click on this inventory move and use that simplified screen that we just saw. One other comment to make as well is that if you are using the bins, if those are enabled, those additional fields will pop up as well. Of course, you'll have all of the additional out-of-box kind of overhead and setup that feature brings because we're using out-of-box bin features. However, if you do turn that on, those fields will be enabled on our inventory move. So the last thing that I'm going to show here for today is the item inquiry. So if I go ahead and click on this, again, I can do this on the computer or on the phone. I can simply scan the item number in or just go ahead and go 1017 that we've been working with on this demo. And what this is going to do is it's going to show pretty much where everything is, right? What's your default bin and shelf? If you're using bins, here we just have the shelf number A17. So you can see that very quickly. And how many do we have on hand at each location or location bin combination? Again, if you're using that combination, if you were using that combo, it would show you all of the bins that you have at that location. So we might see Chicago or Dallas 5 or 6 times if that item can be found in 5 or 6 bins. All of that being enabled will allow you to see that here. Additionally, you could also print product labels from here. So if you come up to new, you can print the labels or the advanced labels or the retail labels, something that we saw earlier in the demo. And you're going and the product doesn't have a label, needs to be printed. You can do that on the fly right from here. So again, the goal is to make this process efficient as possible by using all of these things that we saw out here on the screen today. So just kind of in closing notes, today we went through the cycle counts, the PO receiving, which was kind of the main feature that we showcased today, the transfers, how inventory moves can make those transfers easier, and then finally the item inquiries that we just went through. So again, the whole goal of this is to eliminate the warehouse documents and make the warehousing process easier for those clients that are in our core demographic of about 20 to 30 million in revenue and up to 15 warehouse employees or pickers. So we hope you found this video useful, and we would highly recommend checking out our other DCC videos if you have not already in order to streamline your warehousing operations. Additionally, if you are interested in other productivity and automation tools, we would highly recommend checking everything else out that we currently have in our BC Toolbox, and would also encourage you to subscribe in order to stay up to date with all the latest tools and features. So thanks again for watching, and we hope to hear from you all soon. Thanks.